I'm Joe Kopsick. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives from Illinois' 10th in 2020. And I want to tell you, if you're still on Facebook, to look up Citizens for Truth in School. It is run by a young man named Tom O'Donnell from Northbrook and Niles, Illinois. Tom dropped out of high school, two different high schools, because they were teaching him lies. They were teaching him assumptions. They were teaching him, it's unknown whether, you got to look at whether these schools are teaching us this directly or just kind of leaving this out. There's this assumption all over society that we have overpopulation and we have scarcity and there's not enough to go around. And Tom is pointing out a simple idea. And in fact, when you look at the writings of Marx and Engels, it'll confirm that people knew 170 years ago this was going on. Not having enough is not our problem anymore. Our main problem is that we have too much. We have too much land, water, and air. And all kinds of people are trying to make money off of land and water. Maybe air soon enough, who knows? And all this stuff, like we have overproduction. Overproduction of automobiles led to a Great Depression in 1933. And since we don't read history and don't learn the lessons of history, it led to another Great Depression in 2010 when we bailed out the auto industries, aside from the banking industries and the mortgage industries. We had overproduction of houses. We have I forget if it's 6 or 18 homeless people for every abandoned or empty house, empty residence in America. That's ridiculous. Friedrich Engels, it was either Engels or Kropotkin, realized 150 years ago that you could easily house everyone. I think it was Kropotkin. People were in tenements those days. And there's people in the third world, all over the third world, who are in tenements now, 10 people to a room. There's places in America where that's going on too.
Right, with families, yeah. Coming from over the border.
So I saw a video my friend Miles made about, he interviewed some friend of his, a woman, about the housing in Madison. And he was saying, why do you think housing prices are so high? And this woman was like, well, because there's so much speculation and development and these places aren't open yet and they're expensive, but they're not occupied. It's like, and then
it's a loss of revenue right there.
Prices should go down if no one's buying, right? And prices should go down to something that people can afford. That's what would happen if we had a free market, right?
So they tax you for not buying enough?
Yeah, we get taxed. We have to pay for that because the police have to protect it. Or we have to pay our taxes to a state licensing agency that licenses people like me, private security guards, to protect it in case the police don't. So that's why the prices are so high, because there's so much abandoned, undeveloped, unfinished property. Absentee property is called in anarchism, anarchist economics, which is a real thing. It's not all just about bomb throwing, guys. It's not all just about bomb throwing, gang. Absentee property protection is very expensive,
twisted.
And it destroys the fundamental foundations of society, which is that you have to work to earn your property. You have to make frequent use of it. If you're just holding on to it, to own it, to make money off of it, the way landlords do, it's not really ethical. And landlords, I think, wouldn't be pressured to do that as much. They wouldn't have to resort to that for income. They'd find other ways of finding income if land were not so expensive. If land were less expensive, then the housing and all the things we want to build on top of it and the minerals we can get from it, all kinds of things, everything is on land, all kinds of labor and capital. That would be less expensive. It'd be less expensive to combine labor and capital, which is basically what we do for life in an economic sense. All that would be less expensive if land were less expensive. Now, how do we make land less expensive? We make more efficient use of land, not only land area, but also space. We reform zoning so that we can have residences and buildings stacked up on top of each other, preferably have some kind of storefront on the bottom floor or a few floors in every neighborhood. You have to have commercial and residential areas combined so that you don't end up having a zoning that separates the downtown shopping area from where everybody lives, because that idea inherently separates where wealth is created from where people are trying to bring it home to, and that separates, that makes for an uneven geographical distribution of income, and that creates poverty. And we need to prevent Henry George observed that very poor people and very rich people are always observed together. Like you either have societies with very little poverty and little wealth, where you have very, very much poverty and very much wealth. You don't really see a lot of deviation from that. And he tried to figure out why. And part of it was solving the land question. I look up Henry George and land value taxation.
Henry George.
Yeah. And so he figured out that we're taxing property value, and in doing that, we're taxing property value away, because we're taxing not based on how much people are like hoarding land area, which could be developed for other purposes and might be going unused. It's very environmentally, if not destructive, then at least it's not making any use of it. You can't argue if it's making efficient use, certainly. So you need to reform taxes in a way that we tax the misuse and abuse and disuse of land, and allowing land to fall into disrepair and blight and unusability, rendering land unusable in case someone wants to come along and buy it. That's destructive, literally. We should be taxing destructive things, not productive things like earning ordinary income, like literally legally classed as earned income. If it's earned, why are we taxing it? We should not be paying taxes on wages. Wages are earned income. Only things like corporate income, capital gains, luxury taxes, inheritance taxes, we should turn to those only if we don't fully explore land value taxation. And if local governments just did land value taxation, that is taxing the value of the land underneath it based on who owns that land, like the bank, the government, usually not the resident. So don't tax the resident and I don't own this apartment. I certainly don't own the land underneath. I doubt the landlord owns the land underneath. It's probably owned by a home ownership organization or the local government or the community or bank. I don't even know. It's owned by his business associate maybe. So I definitely don't literally own anything that's taxable. I don't own my car. Why do I pay taxes? So we don't have to tax ordinary working people or the working poor for anything they do. We should be taxing people who get their money based on, goading the government into giving them contracts and favors and subsidies and bailouts and help restructuring their businesses after they've screwed us all over and taken our money. So we should be taxing people based on how much they derive their income from government and its violence and its police and its law enforcement taking our money, and the government violence and unfair, unconstitutional, anti-free market rigging of the market. We shouldn't be taxing people who earn their money. Earn their money fairly through hard work.
Right, it's in the name too. Earn.
Exactly. So there's something legally classed as unearned income. It's like income you get with the government's help. Capital gains, corporate income. Corporations are creations of the government. But this all goes back to land, because we wouldn't have to tax people if we just taxed land. The Georgist Party its slogan is tax land, not man. And also tax land, not buildings is another one.
Oh, I like that. Tax land, not man. That's literally what they're doing. Tax.
Yeah. And another.
What does the word come from? Tax.
I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if I'm in an attack. They throw tax at us.
Tax. Oh, tax. Like it taxed your energy.
Yeah.
Labor. Tax.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it comes from.
Did you know the taxable jurisdictions in England?
It's all like taking a piece of.
The tax.
In medieval England.
Because if somebody it says, do this for me, and it's like a big boulder, it's gonna tax you a lot of energy to do it.
Yeah.
You have to give up something.
Yeah, you gotta give up, exactly. It's giving something, taxing, giving something up
for the service, really.
And so that's why they only tax you like 20%, 25%.
Yeah, like local towns 8 or 7.5.
Well, look, we
9.
pay sales taxes, we pay tolls,
depending on
to use the
states.
roads. We pay
some other bullshit, some other bullshit.
licenses cost-
Tollways are another
Yeah, that's
bullshit.
why I just
You
said
might be
tollways.
paying income to 2 different governments, state and federal.
You gotta pay like your
Right.
license fees. You gotta pay all like you order concert tickets. They're like
Hey, you know
they're
the funniest
like
one?
booking fees and maintenance.
Yeah,
fees.
that bro.
And, like,
Record keeping.
fees
Yeah,
and, like,
that's some bullshit. But yeah.
Oh shit.
So we shouldn't have to pay licensing fees
And
to travel. That's just the state charging us money to leave the state. It turns the state into a prison. locomotion is a natural right. It's not listed in the Constitution, but it doesn't have to be because it's implicitly mentioned in the 9th Amendment, which says that you have rights that are not listed in the Constitution.
They're legalizing weed just to tax it. Just to tax it at like 40, 50%. So like half the money that they're going to be earning from it.
Fully normalized for all adults.
It's air, you want to go smoke some weed? Just give us half the money. That's like a bribe. Like, oh, fine, we finally legalize it so we can get double the money that it would actually cost to grow in. Like, it's a plant. Like, you can. For real. Because in Illinois also they made it illegal for you to grow at your house. You can't grow it just because it's legalized.
So I think legalization, it'll bring down the price of weed, but it'll still make the government probably lose money to the black market. It still won't be able to beat the black market.
I'm talking about,
And if people could grow weed on their own property, that would diminish all need for interstate trafficking of weed, which then the federal government wouldn't be involved in at all. If people could grow food on their own property, we would have no need to go to farmers markets. If we could have chickens in our backyard, there'd be no need for CEOs to transport it to China.
We can't do that because then
the
government would miss out on the money.
Yeah, exactly. If we have no economic activity, then the government can't tax anything.
Right.
Yeah, we're bringing this up.
So really, the government really is just a taxing machine on the land.
It's a machine.
They want to make us need stuff.
The main
and the people that lead the machines are usually the richest ones.
Look, the tax you pay every year. The tax taken out of your
giving
paycheck,
up your soul means
all that,
giving up your fellow.
Add all those taxes together. How much? Look, because the tax you get on your check, that's only like 20%. That's like 25-30% depending on how much money you're making. Add all the other taxes up, like all the tolls, the fees. You get a ticket, you get stopped, you get a parking ticket, all the. What can you? And now let's think about our criminal justice system.
Let's talk about court.
Yeah, the courts and the civil. You want to get married. You love some. If you like somebody and you want to spend the rest of your life with them.
Even the term "marry" is a ship term. It's a ship term.
With paper and money.
Right. Explain how we. Joe, explain to them how we're stocks, man. Like we're just stocks.
Oh, your birth certificate is a certificate. A certificate of your birth. It has a number on it.
Right.
Just like
when ships board ports.
Yeah, just like a
Joe, tell
bill of lading.
Hell yeah.
In trucking, for example, or
spit that knowledge.
So look up
Young
a guy
Jesus.
named Jordan Maxwell.
You're just a product of theirs.
This guy named Jordan Maxwell.
Certificate.
Hold on, let me finish.
Hell yeah, Joe.
Jordan Maxwell
Cold-blooded.
is a frequent guest on Alex Jones. He's kind of a conspiracy theorist. Jordan Maxwell is an old guy. He talks about all the kind of puns that are involved between the economy and water. That we are like through a birth certificate, like
currency.
The term BERTH has something to do with it. And we're born through our mothers in water, like a delivery. He talks about it as if it's an unloading of cargo. It's because he's communicating a very real thing. We're the government's property, and the government views us for commercial purposes. The government exists legally as a corporation for commercial purposes, and our names are on a piece of paper in the Department of Treasury, on our Social Security documents. Basically, our debt is pledged to the government. As long as we're citizens, we're going to cover the government's national debt. And I'd like us to not have to cover the national debt, but I do have a plan to have us pay it off if necessary. I'd appreciate any thoughts about how to make us not pay. I like to be able to have people choose not to be citizens. I don't want to be the last one left standing with this debt.
Cornell.
But we need to reform to a land value taxation system. We need to empower people to actually own their property and own stuff, be able to produce on their own property to reduce the demand for trade or reduce the demand for money. Then the government can't control us anymore. That's pretty much all I got to say. Check out Citizens for Truth in School on Facebook and look up Tom O'Donnell.
Oh yeah, stop brushing your teeth with fluoride and drinking tap water.
Fluoride-free toothpaste, drink juices, all that soda, all the high fructose corn syrups.
Start drinking
all the sodiums, all the stuff with salt, check your sugar. You know how much sugar they want us all to be diabetic by the time we're 45, 50 years old.
And men,
they want you to get cancer. Look, sugar is the main growth for cancer. So all
They
these
spend
fake
trillions-
sugars,
they spend
all these
trillions
sugars
of
that you
dollars.
can't break down.
Hey, you know what?
All the
Hey,
sugars
ho. You said sugar is the number one leading cause to cancer, right?
It's
All right. So that's what you said.
grows.
Yeah, okay.
Your body needs
All right.
cancer cells.
Check it out.
Check it out.
You know the placebo effect?
Of course.
What kind of pill do they use? It's a sugar pill, right?
Oh.
They're bogus as hell, right?
So they get to give everyone cancer.
It's another slap in the face. Here, let's give you a little more sugar. Shit. But on top of that,
trillions of dollars have been spent on wars, on figuring out how to kill people. How much money have we spent on figuring out
military
Killing,
expenses?
Drug everybody.
Guys, you gotta let me finish. You gotta let me finish.
No,
we can live, guys. I'm talking about human immortality.
Oh yes,
We
yes.
can live forever. We need to invest in
See,
health
McDonald's got
research,
silicone
health
in it.
research, DNA research, keeping people alive forever. We can't keep
No.
blowing
Just see
our
McDonald's,
money
you'll live
on
forever.
blowing
It's
people
got
up.
silicone in it. I'm just kidding. Don't listen to that.
But yeah,
Let's get
yeah,
this.
lay off the McDonald's.
They are probably off to me. They got if you got this far in this video, you're
Arizona-
not off the McDonald's or the
Yeah,
Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah, got human piss in it.
Yeah.
Some other. Oh, what is that famous like fruit juice bottle? Naked.
Naked? What
Naked. They got embalming fluid on it.
Embalming fluids, bro?
Embalming, like what they
All the
use.
I
drinks
never
are
heard of that,
poisonous.
but that's...
The drinks are poison. There's poison ink on your money with bisphenol A in it. That's a hormone disruptor, and I think a carcinogen. There's atrazine in the water supply. That's a hormone disruptor. It's not good. We need government to ban between 700 to 800 toxins. Adults have 700 to 800 toxins in their bodies. Babies are born with 200 in them.
Yeah,
This
they
is
give
not
us
good.
this world with the internet and so much information being thrown at us and advertising and cartoons.
Distracting us,
and
yeah.
straight from the time you're like
Fake
6
news.
months, you're a little baby. They're bombarding you with like
Bitch-made
Sesame
people.
Street and all this shit. And then they're trying to. Then by the time you're 6 years old, they're saying you're ADHD and that you can't focus. So then they give you Adderall and they're giving you meth, which from what I know is like going bonkers and crazy and shit. So like. Oh no!
No disrespect.
That's all the addies. If you got to school and you can get stuff accomplished on addies. No diss to the addies, but they got.
If you need something, hit my line.
6-year-olds they got. I'm talking about like. I'm saying if you're an adult, you're responsible. You know what you're putting into your body. That's one thing. But they got like these little 7-year-old kids amped up on all these amphetamines, running around just like. On all these Xanaxes and shit, they think popping bars is all cool, like fucking crashing their cars and shit. All these rappers are rapping about how many cars they crash and like they wearing skirts nowadays. Like, yeah, this shit's a shit show.
Oh yeah, that whole gay agenda they push.
It's a freak show, yeah, and they're pushing they push the gay agenda, which once again nothing against like the homosexuals themselves, but they're literally putting it in the minds of
no
like
judgment.
5-year-olds of
Right.
It's like they're literally pushing it down the throats of like you gotta like come out and like you gotta decide early like what the fuck you're 4 years old you're trying to play with like sandboxes and like go on the swing sets and shit.
Shouldn't be
yeah, and then they're asking you who you want to fuck like wait you're like 5.
Also, like social media is being
pedophile.
sexualized way too much lately. I feel like it's either like cash for sex, really, nowadays.
Part of the sexualization of children in society, I think, owes to
which real men don't pay for sex.
People are trying to make children capitalistically productive. They're trying to bring back child labor is what's going on. And unfortunately, the libertarians have been on the wrong side of this, especially Walter Block. You can't be for child labor being legal and for legal prostitution at the same time, because that tends to imply that you're for legal child prostitution. And what do we, basically have? Like, I don't know how many teenage girls who are underage are doing webcam in America right now. God only knows how many shit's going on.
I mean,
so
shit growing day by day.
I talked about a plan to reform schools and reform child welfare, which involves basically watching your kids, not trusting the fucking government to take care of them for you, because who the fuck knows what they're doing while you're not there.
Because the government and corporations, they make money off of kids all day. Like going back to the whole birth certificate thing, you're born, and immediately you're bombarded with all these products and Sesame Streets and all like your cartoons, Cartoon Networks, and
12 years
Disney
later,
channels.
they'll make
It's like
money
year
off
by
of
year you
soda
get
in
initiated.
school.
It's like an initiation. First you get like your Blue's
Think about a
Clues,
television
Dora the
program.
Explorers, and then
Television
it moves
program.
Up, moves up.
Hell yeah.
Like you know, you get to the
Nickelodeon is owned by
Avengers, you get to
Nickelodeon's
Star
owned by
Wars,
MTV.
Disney owns all.
What?
of this.
MTV?
Walt
No.
Disney was a pedophile, and MTV owns Nickelodeon.
Damn, that explains why it's so sexualized. There's some like
Yeah.
subliminal sex.
The,
Oh, yeah,
the,
they're-
the Nickelodeon foot
Since-
logo,
since-
there's a
yeah.
chance that the Nickelodeon foot logo might be a reference to Dan Schneider's foot fetish, because Dan Schneider is a pedophile who wrote for several Nickelodeon shows.
Yeah,
That has come out in the last few years.
yeah.
So we
Fuck
need to
mainstream music
watch
too.
out for like Hollywood having people in their early 20s play teenagers, because then they're sending the message, this is what teenagers look like and this is what teenagers do in their romanticized movies. So that's one thing, aside from we can live forever if we just focus on health research and stop taxing productive activity and just tax destruction.
The government is
and waste
taxed.
of land, hoarding of land. Look up Henry George land value taxation and Citizens for Truth in School on Facebook.
And stop paying for sex.
You trick.
Don't get tricked on. Yeah,
Trick. Pay for pussy, you a trick.
yeah.
Live forever and stop paying for sex.
Alright, we're gonna do that thing.